Well, welcome everybody. I'm Dr. Craig Rolls, Green Valley Chiropractic Wellness Center. I'm a board-certified chiropractic internist and clinical nutritionist. What that means is we really look at the body for proper function and do our best to really raise the level of health in an individual. And we're going to talk about synthetic vitamins versus whole food supplements, kind of what that's all about. On your handouts, I want to share with you, the handouts really don't pertain to the class. It's not something you look at while I'm teaching tonight. But I do want to kind of point out something to you. A chromatogram, we'll talk about it tonight, is actually, if you turn the picture, you'll see the pictures on the back side. These are actual pictures of real vitamins on the left and on the right. And you'll see that on the left, those are all your synthetic vitamins, and all the ones on the right are whole food. And there's something about life that really replicates true life, things that are not understandable. If you look at the very top, this is vitamin C on the left, that's ascorbic acid. And on the right is actual vitamin C from a natural source, okay, and from a fruit. And see how radically different they are? But under chemistry inspection, under molecules, under all the chemists would use to evaluate the different two, they're exactly the same, okay? But you can see they're radically different. So there's something about life that's very unique. And that's one thing we'll talk about tonight, why there's such a big difference between a synthetic and a whole food. And then you have pictures of vitamin C and vitamin E, and we'll talk about that in class, so you'll be able to have something to resource with. And the last article, Real or Synthetic, is really kind of a synopsis of what we're teaching tonight. So this is some take-home reading for you, okay? So in understanding about vitamins, okay, first, it's really important to understand about the body and really how the body works. And that's what we've been talking a lot about this summer. You know, and what system in the body is one of the most important systems in the body we've talked about this summer? The gut, right? The gut and digestive system. Remember how last week we talked about how there's so much acid in your stomach that it'll turn like a metal penny into liquid. That's what it's supposed to be doing. Why would it do that? It has to break it down. So the body to get, what's the body ultimately trying to get? It's trying to get nutrients, right? And those nutrients are like kind of captured in that food. If you take that food and put it right in your bloodstream, it's not going to work. It has to be broken down to the smallest parts, which we're going to talk about those amino acids and vitamins and minerals. It has to be broken down. And so that's part of that process. So what I want to start with tonight is understanding how that works in the body. So when there's a problem in the body, okay, it could be really any health problem, can you see how there might be a connection between the ability of the body to get those nutrients from that food actually into your bloodstream, then actually into the tissues and the organs of your body? Can you see the connection there? So if the digestive system is not breaking down those foods properly, getting them down to those small component parts, then the ability of the body to build itself and to heal and regenerate itself is really a challenge. And I contend that almost every illness that we deal with in the world today, most of them, at least 90% of them, are a result of this process not working properly, which is actually a really good thing because then we have something we can do about it. And by making our body healthier, by working on our digestive system, by working on our bodies in general, and by taking whole food supplements, which we'll talk about again tonight, you actually have the ability to change your life and change your health quite significantly. So what I want to start with is on the very top. So our class is synthetic vitamins versus whole food vitamins. But I want to talk about the building blocks of life. What is it and how does the body build? How does it heal? And how does it repair? So in other words, you take that food and you break that down into those component parts. What are those component parts? And what do they do? Well, we have proteins, we have carbohydrates, fats and oils, enzymes, vitamins, and minerals. So this is not a class to learn and try to memorize all the different parts of food. It's just to get an understanding of how beautifully complex the body is and how it actually has the ability. There's a system, there's a science behind it, okay? So the proteins are for what? Proteins are like, think of them like building blocks, okay? They build muscle, they build bone, they build tissue, okay? Amino acids are parts of the protein complex. They also make chemicals, enzymes, and hormones. So without enzymes, without hormones, you can see quite a problem, right? So proteins are a building block of life. So that's one thing. And proteins, what's the best source of protein? What are we taught?
Plant-based meat.
Oh, we're taught meat is the best source of protein. It's interesting side note that the scientists who discovered the last amino acid, which are the building blocks of protein, said clearly that vegetable protein is just as high of a quality of protein as animal protein. So there's really no variance. I mean, you have many, many powerful professional athletes, weightlifters that are vegan. And I don't say you have to live a vegan lifestyle. I'm just saying that those protein sources are very, very good. You don't have to eat meat to get the complement of protein that you need in your body. So carbohydrates. So proteins are for what? Building, right? They're building blocks, okay? What are carbohydrates for? What is carbohydrate anyway? Carbohydrate's like a sugar. Now you think about sugar, what do you think about?
Is it also considered an insulin?
Well,
Or it converts into insulin?
no, insulin, well, carbohydrates, first of all, are sugars, right? So very important to understand that we have a bad connotation for sugar, right? We don't think sugar is a good deal. It's not, because what are we referring to when we talk about the bad sugar? We're talking about man-made sugar, artificial sugars and sweeteners. That's obviously poison to the body. But carbohydrates or sugars, there are sugars in the body that are essential. Without the sugars in your body can't function properly. And the way insulin works, insulin takes the sugar and puts it in the cell so they can actually work. Okay, that's how that interplays. Okay, so therefore energy, immediate energy and also stored energy. Fats and oils, that's another one. Okay, and then from the 70s we're told, what? No fat. Remove the fat from your diet. That was the worst experiment we've ever played on our country. Terrible. Because fats and oils, look what they're for. Do you know that your brain is almost all fat and water? That's it. And, I don't know about you, but I want to keep my brain. So you may want to have some oils, okay? So fats and oils, they stored energy also, a big source of stored energy. Insulation, protection of vital organs. So you may have too much insulation, but a little bit's good. And they act as messengers also for things like hormones. So the oils are really, really important. Enzymes. You've heard of enzymes before. When you think of an enzyme, what do you think about typically?
Something
digestion. Digestive enzymes, right? Very, very common, something we hear about all the time. Enzyme really is like what we call a catalyst. Okay? A catalyst is simply like a spark, something to make it work a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, a little bit more efficient. That's what an enzyme is. And so can you imagine a body deficient of enzymes? I mean, it'd be sluggish. It'd have a hard time, making the different reactions inside it needs to do. So enzymes are critical. They are vital for life. They speed up thousands of chemical processes in the body, and they increase our metabolism. Then last, our topic tonight, vitamins and minerals. Okay, essential coenzymes. They regulate metabolic processes, which means they kind of make things dance, make things work properly. Okay, and they do not build. What builds? Proteins, and they don't provide energy. What provides energy? Carbohydrates and fats and oils. Okay, so you can see the vitamins are an interesting thing because vitamins actually, we didn't really know about vitamins until 1800s. Okay, what happened was most of the stories come from the sailors, go months on end sailing across the ocean, and they would have very deficient supply of fruits and vegetables, of just good natural food. And so they started to have these problems like scurvy, if you ever heard of that. Okay, scurvy is a vitamin C deficiency, bleeding into the gums, ulcers, and just damaged tissues. And it was interesting, the story goes that they found out not quite, they kind of found by happenstance that citrus fruits healed the scurvy. And in fact, what happened in London, they started to require that all the ships to go out with lime juice. That's what they call limeys, because the lime juice supplied the nutrients necessary to prevent scurvy. And that's how they first discovered a vitamin. So by definition, a vitamin is a substance that without it in your body, it produces a disease or an ailment. And once you provide it back in the body, that disease or ailment goes away. So a vitamin requires both of those to be really typically called a vitamin. It has to, with its absence, create disease and bring it back in, it goes away again. So also in the ships there was a problem with beriberi. Beriberi is vitamin B1, and that's found in rice bran. Okay, so same type of analogy was found. They discovered that using rice bran on the ships solved this beriberi problem, and so now they had another vitamin, okay, which was vitamin B1. Now, sometime later, So we know this is. I think this is really important to understand. We talk a lot about whole life. What I mean by that is just good choices in life, right? Water, exercise, good food, doing good foundational things in life, right? To create a healthy body. And what we fight against oftentimes is the commercialization of things like food or vitamins, or in fact, our medical industry. But the commercialization oftentimes moves away from what we are saying as a whole lifestyle. So what happened was they discovered these vitamins. Now they know they exist. Now, at this time of the age, what did they know? They didn't know ascorbic acid. They didn't know thiamine. They didn't know the chemical names. They only knew what? Rice bran, lime, oranges. They knew the foods that removed these diseases. And they knew some type of substance was in this food that removed that disease if you got it back in that person's body. So they identified the vitamins, and those are true vitamins, because those vitamins came from what? Food. They're just food. And they have all the complexes, all the complex nature of the vitamins that are necessary for the body to function properly. So along came the scientists. Okay, and so they wanted to research a little bit deeper. Well, what is it in the lime that's making this happen? What is it in the rice bran that's making this happen? So, don't remember the gentleman's name, but the guy that discovered vitamin C. St. George, right. He discovered the actual molecule, ascorbic acid. Now, here's what's interesting, is that I believe in their excitement to identify the chemical. They said, ascorbic acid, that's vitamin C. Well, they completely missed it. Look at this, right here. So if you open up your page, look at vitamin C. Okay. So you see this red ring right here? That's ascorbic acid. But vitamin C comes from citrus fruits, right? And every vitamin, proper vitamin, is a complex. It's not a single chemical. So look at the ascorbic acid. The ascorbic acid is actually the outside layer of the true vitamin C complex. True vitamin C has ascorbic acid, ascorbinone, bioflavonoid complexes, P factors, K and J factors, and tyrosine to make up the whole vitamin C complex. So no vitamin in nature is found as a single compound. That's a synthetic. All vitamins in nature are found as complexes of many substances. That's found in food. So I believe what happened, the scientists got really excited. They found the chemical that was connected to it. In the case of thiamine, it was vitamin B1. They discovered the chemical there as well. And so that became labeled as the vitamin. Big mistake. Because then what happened, those are scientists. I believe scientists typically are pure. They're really, in most cases, removed from the commercialization process. But they were just showing their research. And what happened was that then the world got a hold of it and attached, well, this is vitamin C, this is vitamin B1. Now you have industry. Now you have bottles of pills being made, okay, because they discovered they can make vitamin C in the lab, okay? They can make vitamin E in the lab. And a lot of the vitamin E actually comes from cleaning agents. Vitamin B, coal tar.
St. George considered himself a failure because vitamin C didn't cure scurvy.
Yes, and that's exactly. So you hear what he said?
I'm sorry.
No, it was perfect. So the scientist who discovered vitamin C felt himself a failure because vitamin C did not cure scurvy. And is that not the definition I started with tonight? That a vitamin is defined as in its absence you have disease, in its presence the disease goes away. So the ascorbic acid didn't make it go away. So what is ascorbic acid not? It's not a vitamin. And yet what do we have in our industry well versed throughout this country? Vitamin C is a vitamin, it's ascorbic acid, and it's not a vitamin. And why? Because it's only one small part of the complex. It requires the whole complex to make the scurvy go away. And I think that's what happened. And see, that's the true nature, I feel, of a humble human being. So he recognized in his science that, you know what I thought was true is not true. And he's willing to say it. So all the scientists really do that. They acknowledge that these are not vitamins. These are run short because they don't make the condition go away. And yet the commercial industry, FDA, that whole train keeps running down the street. Okay, so that's really important to understand that. So what that means is that synthetic vitamins can be a hazard to your health. Let me explain to you why. So you take vitamin C, for example. You take the vitamin C in your body. Now, oftentimes what happens, you start to feel better. Why is that? Well, first of all, it's important to know that if you take ascorbic acid, it cannot function in your body without all the other cofactors. Okay? So what will your body do? When you put ascorbic acid in your body, what will your body do? It'll take the other factors that are present already in your body, attach it to that ascorbic acid to function. And then you'll have a reaction, a proper reaction from that. So you can feel better, even though what's it doing in the background is robbing your body of vital nutrients. Yeah. In addition to that, they've also shown that synthetic vitamins can cause toxic responses inside the body well beyond a deficiency. Okay? So they've done experiments with vitamin A. They've had to stop them because on pregnant women because they started having miscarriages. So it's important to know. And also, I feel one of the reasons why vitamins as a whole have gotten a bum rap in a way and don't show the success rates they should be showing is because of that reason. Because they're using synthetics. They're not using whole food. Use whole food. And this is where you always have to come back to food. It comes back to the basic. Okay? Because it's really what foundationally builds the body. Your protein, your carbohydrates, your fats, oils, enzymes, and your vitamins. Okay? So here's one easy way to understand it. Say, refined food versus whole food. Who in the right mind does not understand that honey is better than white sugar? We all know that, right? Whole grains are better than white bread. Even though we're not really big advocates of grains either because of all the problems we've had in our gut. Okay? And that brown rice is better than white rice. Do we all can you relate to that? That refined foods just don't make it. Okay? Refined foods are not healthy, right? So why would a refined vitamin be healthy?
Good marketing.
Why would think about it? But how many people buy a normal off-the-shelf vitamin at Trader Joe's or GNC or wherever you go? Vitamin C, you buy it every day. Not even thinking about it. But you have to recognize that, no, that's not good. Because it's like eating white sugar or white bread and white rice, okay? It's the same thing. So here's a good example. Vitamin E, alpha-tocopherol, okay? Now, alpha-tocopherol, again in the red here, that's the synthetic version, okay? If you really get a cheap brand of vitamin E, it comes from cleaning agents made in a lab, okay? And all you get is the red part. You don't get all the tocopherols, the lipositol, the xanthine, and all the different component parts. You don't get that, okay? So how does that compare to a whole food and standard process line? We call it Cataplex E. That's what Cataplex stands for, is whole food complex, okay? So Cataplex E comes from peas and from beets. Now the whole, both known, you have to understand, we also don't know everything. Yeah. There are unknown agents too that are part of the supplements, the complexes, the vitamin complexes that we don't know. And that's this part here. That's this difference in the chromatographs. It's like synthetic, you can see it's just kind of lifeless. But when you have the real food, boy, look at the life that's in there. So some of the unknown factors are even just the things that make up life that you can't identify in a microscope or you can't identify in a test tube. Okay. Synthetics can act like drugs. That's oftentimes why practitioners will use synthetic vitamins because they're more powerful, they respond faster, and they can be called a safer drug in a way. They still got to be very careful, okay? But again, it just seems to me it's such a dichotomy as a doctor if you're recommending whole food, fruits and vegetables, brown rice, nuts and seeds, good healthy grains in your body, okay, lean meats, oils and your fats. You're doing this, you're helping your patients do this, and yet you give them a whole bag of synthetic vitamins. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. And what happens is they work, and they'll speed up metabolism processes, but they're more like a drug. And the problem with drugs is that they're almost too fast and can be toxic. So I prefer the slow route, and sometimes the more inconvenient route of going to whole food. Because you're not missing anything. It's all there for your body to use. Okay. You can't expect a single compound to act as a whole. Your body knows the difference. It's God's design. Synthetics will rob your body of nutrients. Potency versus synergy. Potency. What's potency on a vitamin? Strength, right, okay. And what's synergy? What's the word synergy stand for?
We work together.
We work together, right, okay. So this is really important. So you look on a bottle of Standard Process and you look, okay, you're looking for, okay, how many milligrams of vitamin C you have in it? I'm looking for 1,000. How many milligrams of vitamin B is it? I'm looking for 50 milligrams or maybe 100 milligrams, right? I'm looking at the numbers, right? That's potency. You want to take that and just put that in the trash can. What do we? How do you get those high potent numbers? How do you get them in the first place? In the laboratory. The only way you can get those is through synthetics. The only way you can push those numbers up high is if you refine them and then you bring those numbers up. Okay? So it's well known that more powerful in your body is the synergistic effect of all the different compounds together working together as a team. Okay? And that's what synergy means. So a common product like, say, Cataplex C will have buckwheat and bone, alfalfa, even some different organ meats, and they all work as different synergistic factors that work together. So it's a new shift in mindset. So when you look at a vitamin bottle from my office, you're not going to see these high numbers. In fact, that's one thing I teach my patients to know, that if you see bottles with high numbers, leave it on the shelf or give it to a friend, or better yet, throw it away, because it's just not, it's potentially toxic and can cause problems inside your body. Okay? So you want to forget the numbers and go for the food. If you see a label that has a bunch of food on it, you're going the right path. That's
so
different.
Are yours capsules or liquid? Because I know the tablets are not good for you.
Oh, no, that's not true. Tablets, capsules, liquids are all good, healthy forms of, it depends on how you do it. Okay? Dr. Royal Lee, who founded Standard Process, who was also an inventor, and he was able to take from seed to supplement, from the farm to the pill, in a capsule form or a tablet form, in proper ways with the proper machinery to maintain all the cofactors and maintain all those different ingredients of the food. So if it's done properly, slow, low temp, slow process, you can still preserve the quality of the supplement.
Or the tablet, because I
Some are tablet,
most of
some
them
are capsule,
binders.
some are liquid. Yeah, and that's good. So binders are good or bad. Binders are not good, right? So you won't see a binder in a Standard Process product. You don't put them in there because of that reason. And that's why also you have to kind of, it's kind of interesting. We get so used to different things. Like on a vitamin, we're kind of used to a color, like a red or a yellow or a green, right? Or we're used to a flavor, like it may have a sweet taste to it, okay? But if you chew Standard Process vitamins, is actually a healthy way to take them. It's going to taste more like grass, okay, or like dirt, okay? Because it's the real stuff. It's the real thing, okay? So, hey, it is what it is. You can swallow them or you can chew them. I never forget one of the doctors that we study under shared a video of his children, and they're like 3, 4 years old, and from the time they're like even younger than that, taught them how to just simply chew their vitamins. And I'm a grandfather now. God, I wish I had kids when I knew now as a grandfather, being a father, because I think babies are the perfect test tubes, because how do they know what tastes good, what doesn't taste good, especially when they're just like 8 months, 9 months, 10 months old.
I'll let you know real quickly because it comes back in your face.
But the thing is, see, I have a whole different mental concept of that. To me, it's like, man, it's a living factory. This body knows what's good. It knows intimately what's good. So you start putting in food, it don't care about flavor at first. That's an acquired experience, okay? In my opinion, most mothers feed them based upon what their likes are, what their dislikes are, and I think that's a big mistake. Just go from scratch, just give them everything. So anyway, this video that he does on his kids is just hilarious, because he'll give them a pack of vitamins. He just take them, they chew them all up, and they swallow them down. It's not a big deal, So it's just food. So kind of fun. So that's one of the big key differences on the substances. So when we're looking in the body for the difference between whole food and vitamins, that's really the key part. So what I'd like to do is actually open up for a couple of different questions, and I've got another area that I want to talk about. So what we've talked about so far: vitamins, synthetics, whole food, all those different areas. What questions might you have about those areas? Yes.
In terms of what you were saying with the synthetics, okay, obviously GNC, Trader Joe's, but what about those fancy, like distributors, not standard process?
Sure, great question. You know, so a lot of great companies have great products. So, particularly in area, minerals are a different camp because minerals are not a complex like vitamins are. So this is really more of an issue when it comes to vitamins. So if you see, even if it's a high quality company, if you see higher numbers of the ranges of vitamins, that's still a synthetic process. Okay, and even though it's maybe well intended, and maybe it's even in processes that are a little bit more expensive and laborious to help to increase the quality, it's still a synthetic. So it depends a lot upon the source, where they're sourcing their products from, and how they make the change. I have had the opportunity to go out to Standard Process, the actual farms out there twice. It's in Palmyra, Wisconsin. The dirt is like a solid red, and all the farms are organic. And you see how they just bring it from seed to supplement, from the food sources, from the beets and the buckwheat and all the different sources of foods they're using to process their food. So a lot of it depends upon the sourcing and the processing of those supplements. Yes.
I'm still confused. If I pick up a bottle of vitamins, how do I know that they're synthetic?
Look at the
By
ingredient.
the
Yeah.
percentage of,
So you
It has
look.
milligrams on it.
Yep.
It's
So it has a bunch of names. Okay, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin A. Okay, and it has a bunch of numbers on it. That's synthetic. Okay. Look at the ingredients also. It'll say different chemical names. Okay. If it says carrots, wheatgrass, if it says different food substances, then that's most likely more of a whole food supplement.
Those are usually in micrograms, not
Yeah.
milligrams.
And you also have to be careful too because this is kind of catching on. So a lot of companies are now starting to go whole food, and it's about resourcing or how they source their food. So some of these companies get whole food product, but from a different resource, and sometimes you have to make sure that's coming from a quality source. They're not coming. I like using Standard Process because they're coming from the farm. They're coming from the dirt right into the processing plant. Okay.
So you said earlier that vitamin C is not a vitamin, but it's ascorbic acid. Does that mean it's an enzyme, or what? I mean, what is it really?
So vitamin C complex, okay, is a vitamin. Ascorbic acid by itself is one part of the vitamin C complex. By itself is not a vitamin because it can't function. It can't remove scurvy from a person who has scurvy,
Right.
which is the definition of a vitamin. And so we can see that here. It's just only one part of that layer.
Okay. So if is it just a part of vitamin C, or is it a different classification?
It's a part of vitamin C.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's a component rather than.
Right.
It's not an enzyme. It's obviously not a fat.
It's a sub-factor. It's one of the factors in vitamin C complex.
Okay.
But technically, if you're going to really truly be honest and communicate what vitamin C is, if a bottle says ascorbic acid and it says vitamin C, it's truly not. It's a part of vitamin C complex.
Okay.
And that's why it's so important, because if you take that vitamin C into your body then will use all available resources to make it complete, and then use it to process.
Okay. So the component would be an acid.
Yes.
Okay.
And-
So that's really what it is.
and it
That's
can't-
a component of vitamin C.
Yes, and it can cause deficiencies in the body because it's grabbing other nutrients from the body to process that supplement. Yeah. So I want to talk about whole food and synthetic food. So why is that so important?
Same
It's not
reason.
going to recognize the nutrients and able to absorb and
Yeah, when you start to talk about food, that's when the differences in synthetic and whole food supplements really hit home, I believe. So let's talk about that. So bread, okay, white bread. How do you make white bread?
processed flour.
Right. So that comes from the wheat, right? Now the wheat, this is very interesting. The wheat kernel, okay, they'll remove the bran, they'll remove the shell, okay, and they remove the germ, and all the rest is processed for bread. So all the nutrients are pretty well gone. And they'll run it through their machines, then they'll bleach it. Why do they bleach it? They want to make it white because they have to make it palatable. Yeah. And they'll add in a coloring. If it's brown bread, they'll add in brown. If it's white bread, they'll leave it white. Okay, you actually put in some whiteners in it. And by the time we get to the end, we have a loaf of bread. Okay, well, it's not really bread, is it? Okay, and that is at the source of a lot of our health problems today. So, what are other comparisons like that are there as far as whole food? So, what would be the comparison? What would be instead of the white bread? What would be a healthy bread?
A whole wheat.
Whole wheat. So they use the whole kernel, they use the whole germ. But the problem with that, this also can be a concern as well because wheat itself has changed over the last 50
Well,
years.
it's processed.
Well, not only that, they've changed it genetically.
Yes.
So gliadin is a component part of wheat, always has been. About 4% should be. Now it's up to as much as 40%. And gliadin is connected to gluten. So gluten sensitivity, celiac disease, and problems with the gut are oftentimes from that. So even a good healthy bread oftentimes are hard. So if you're on a good health program, at least to start that program, you don't do any bread at all. There's a good difference to understand. So if you are eating a healthy bread, to be a whole bread, whole wheat bread, and preferably as dense as possible. When the white bread first came out, a lot of the bread, a lot of the bread guys that delivered the bread, the guys that delivered it all. I heard one guy who was telling the story of his life because he did that for like years, and he said, well, back in the day, breads were like rocks, they're like heavy, and then later they started laughing because the bread became so light, and they could squeeze the loaf and just bounce right back into shape again, So a good whole solid bread.
You know the Harvest bread store that's down?
Yes.
Okay, I went in and bought a loaf, I don't know, a week ago. And I used to make bread, a honey whole wheat bread. And I mean, it was wheat, I didn't add white or anything. And it was the best bread ever. That's what my daughters were raised on. And I went in and bought this loaf of wheat. It was 100% whole wheat. And they weighed 1.5 pounds because I'd weighed it when I got home. This is a heavy bread.
Right.
And it wasn't any bigger than a loaf,
Yeah. You just have to be careful, so, because, here's a great story. So, a couple, it's a Mormon family, they were gifted a barrel of wheat because they'll save the different foodstuffs, right? And so they got this barrel of wheat, and so they would eat it, and as a couple, and they lasted for about a year for them, but then they exhausted it, so they had to get another barrel. So that barrel that they got that was donated, that was given to them as a gift, was like 50 years old. It was just stored. That's what Mormons do. They'll store the food in places to keep it for, it's a good thing. They keep it for safety, keep it for tragedies, whatever. And my point is this. When they replace the wheat, they do the same process, same bread, same thing, then they start having all these gut problems. And it's simply because the genetic makeup of the wheat has changed over those last 50 years. So that was what most of that was happening. Yeah, pretty interesting. Yeah. Yes.
How about breads that you see in the store that say 7 grain or whatever?
I have learned to stop eating bread. I just don't eat bread. I just don't eat it. As best I can. I don't buy it, so I don't keep it in the house. But if I'm out and about, I may do something like that once in a while. But for the most part, it's just you have to look at bread like sugar, quite honestly, and that's really what happens to it. It breaks down into a sugar as well, very, very, very quickly. Okay, so the Cataplex E, Cataplex A, Cataplex D, those are all the different whole food supplements from Standard Process, and each one of those have the different component parts. When you read a label, you'll see. Matter of fact, will you go get a bottle off my shelf for me, Christina?
I have one here.
Oh, you have one there. Great. Now, if I can read it, that'd be even better. Matter of fact, if you don't mind, I'm going to have. Let me see if I can read it. This is a Cataplex B. B as in boy. This is an interesting fact. So Cataplex B has a part of the Cataplex B, part of the B vitamin, whole food vitamin, has a factor called B4. B4 cannot be made synthetically. It's impossible. Never been able to do it. Okay, so the only way you can get the B4 factor is in a whole food product. And this substance, we use a device called the heart sound recorder. The heart sound recorder is like they listen to your heart sounds, and you can see how your heart's working, the heart sounds. And you can literally see that there's a lot of flutter in the heart. It means it's not really arresting properly. That's an electrical conductivity problem. That's what vitamin B4 is for. So you can actually chew on about 9 of these tablets and redo the test like immediately, and you can see the thing level out. So it's pretty amazing how the body responds very, very quickly to.
How many do you take?
Well, that would be just an experiment, but that'd be 9. So this is bovine liver, beets, nutritional yeast, porcine duodenum, defatted wheat germ, choline, carrots, sweet potato, rice bran. So it's all food, right? So if your ingredient list just shows food, and then let's look at the numbers. Calories, 3. Thiamine, 1 milligram. You're not losing any sleep over 1 milligram. Niacin, 20 milligrams. Vitamin B6, 1 milligram. So if you're buying vitamins for potency, for high numbers, you'd throw this and say, this is no good. Numbers are way too low. Okay, but that's not how it works. It works by those synergistic factors all working together to make it a live product. Okay, I want you to open up your diagrams again to the chromatographs. I'm going to show this to people as well. So, isn't there a part of life that is uniquely life that can't be explained? It's just life. You know, I remember in school we had to work on cadavers, you know, and even though that's a person in front of you, they've obviously passed. You're working on them; they're no longer living. But there's just a difference, you know, and that huge difference between what is that spark, you know, that's inside that living being. Now, I'm a strong believer. I believe in God. I believe that that's the part that we're seeing here. But look at God's majesty in these vitamins. I mean, on the right, you see these amazing patterns of life, you know, that are there. And
They're not all the same.
They're not all the same. Not all the same at all. Okay? So it's pretty fascinating. So the essence now, this is a good question. So are whole food vitamins important?
Yes.
And so you don't take any at all. Is it okay to just not take any vitamins?
That's why you're hepatitis.
In a perfect world.
Yeah, in a perfect world. So that's really, really well said.
If you eat in the rainbow.
So here's the thing, you know, if we were maybe 150 years ago, we lived on a farm, we're eating fresh produce, okay, and we didn't have the same radiation problems, we didn't have the same environmental problems, and there was less stress on our physical bodies, and even environmental, even emotional stress on our bodies, and pesticides exactly. If we didn't have all those things present, then you probably wouldn't have to take, well, the need for supplements would be far less, unless you're sick, okay? And most illnesses are not really truly illnesses, they're really malnutrition. The body not getting these building blocks to make the body work properly ends up in a disease or some type of illness. So really today, yes, whole food supplementation is very, very important. You know, there's a product called Catalin in Standard Process. Catalin is a tremendous product because it's made up of about 25 different factors, 25 different foodstuffs, carrots, peas, broccoli, all kinds of different things that are in one little tablet. That was actually the first product made by Dr. Lee back in the 30s. But it's a whole food product, and it also has stuff in there for your adrenals, for your thyroid, for your brain, for your whole body system. So it's just a really great whole food supplement. So if you were to take one only, that would be the one you'd want to take, Catalin, Catalyn. I'll write it down. And you would take 6 a day. Another really good one would be, good question.
I mean, that just,
It's food.
Exactly. So, great question. Why so many tablets? I tell you, one of the hardest things that I have to contend with, deal with, is just knowing that my patients have to take a lot of pills if they're going to take the whole food supplements. Why is that? Because they're concentrated food. If it's synthetic in a lab, high potency, If it's a drug, what are drugs like? When you take a pill from a manufacturer of a drug, sometimes they're so teeny you can barely even see the thing, but they pack a punch. It's a powerful chemical storehouse, right? But this is food. So you have to get rid of the old thinking of the number of pills and the number of milligrams. You just have to put that. And you know what? If you can't swallow pills, fine. Just grind them up, put them in a shake, and yeah. But
Break them in half.
Yeah.
Have those wafers.
so that's a whole food product. So another really good supplement on a general basis is Cataplex D, as in dog, which is vitamin D, right? Because most of us are deficient vitamin D. But it's very important to know that you can also take too much vitamin D. So on a blood test, it should be anywhere between 40 and 50. I'm not a big fan of over 50 milligrams on your blood test. About 50 is a good number. Okay?
So
But vitamin D3, which all your doctors will give you if your tests are showing low, is what? It's a synthetic vitamin, which can cause deficiency,
Toxicity.
can cause toxicity. That's what we're talking about here. So whole food. So that means what? I have to take Cataplex D or some source like that. And guess what? You have to take more tablets probably, okay, than you would take in the liquid form. Okay. Fish oils. Fish oils are also should be standard in everybody's body, or some type of omega-3 oil, calamari oil, cod liver oil. Why are the oils important? What do they do? Brain, heart, and inflammation, and skin. Sure.
Avocado is my favorite.
Yeah, avocado is awesome for that. What's the number one? What's the number one vitamin?
oh,
What's the number one vitamin for skin? It's a trick question.
A?
It's oil.
Water.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, lots of water. Very, very important.
okay.
So Catalin, vitamin D, Cataplex D, fish oils, trace minerals. And that's a really good complex right there.
So if I'm taking that bone health, would I have to take D?
Well, the general health pack, no, there's D in the bone health pack.
Right, so I'm getting all that I need in that one box.
Well, the best way to do it is simply do a blood test for vitamin D, and then you'll know.
Okay.
So one thing we have to understand is we're all uniquely different, right? We have different demands, we have different levels of stress, we have different issues that are going on in our life. And so what's important for one person may not be good for another person. And one thing Jackie was referring to, the bone health pack. Bone health pack we use to support bone. That's a maintenance pack, okay? So if you have osteoporosis or you're trying to get those numbers up, you need to do a little bit more stronger work than that, okay? But that's great for maintenance for sure, okay? And we also have a thing called a general health pack to make it a little bit easier. All your pills come in like a little container that has the fish oil in it, has the cattle in it, and has a trace mineral in it. So it has 3 of those things in it already, called the general health pack. So that's really good. Again,
That's another box.
another thing I want to share, though, is since we know the digestive system is one of the most important systems in our body, we also have to make sure we're supporting, at least make sure it's working properly. And food might be able to do it on its own. Stomach, pancreas, and liver, really important, and gallbladder. Those areas have to be working properly. So Zypan is a product we use for the stomach. It's actually a stomach juice. It has acid in it, which we've talked about, and it has enzymes in it. And so if you're having trouble with acid reflux or acid type problem in your stomach, the Zypan is a beautiful product to help to reverse that. And then we use Beta Food for the gallbladder. And Beta Food comes from, anybody want to guess what food is best for the gallbladder? I mentioned this a couple classes ago. What's the number one food for the gallbladder?
Bitters,
No, it's very purple.
collard greens, and beets.
Yeah,
Beets?
beets.
Oh, I thought that was for the liver.
Gallbladder is beets are good for both, but particularly for the gallbladder. It's one of the reasons why it's good for the liver, because it makes the gallbladder work better.
I love
Yeah.
beets.
Yeah, beets are awesome. Yeah. So Beta Food is the supplement. And see, another thing about Standard Process that I love is that we know the power of vegetables, right? And we know the power of eating them, okay? But also it's important to recognize the power of organ meats. Very, very important. Very powerful. Adrenal, thyroid, brain. Who's going to eat that stuff? I mean, they used to, you know.
I
I'm from Europe. In Europe, they do a lot of organ meat.
Yeah. So what kind of meats would they eat?
Well, they used to do all the things like the what do you call it? Not just the heart, but the what do you call it?
tongue.
You can buy them actually in a grocery store. They
Well,
sell them in little trays.
Yeah.
Trying to say it in
Gizzards?
English. Huh?
Gizzards?
Kidney, gizzard.
Yeah,
kidney,
intestines,
all kinds of
all that
things.
stuff.
Yeah,
all
yeah.
kinds of stuff.
Well, it's really funny about this. So is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't.
Yeah, it's a very, very good thing. But I tell you, I mean, I'm a nutritionist, and I'm a passionate for health and passionate for good, healthy food. But I went into I always forget the name of that place. They took over Kmart, and it's a Korean market, Sun City Fish or something like that. But oh my gosh, the brains, and they had the heart, and they had I think I'll take the tablets. So another reason why I love Standard Process is because you can take in a tablet form all those awesome organ meats. In fact, a lot of the products, for instance, the Complex E, which has peas and beets in it for the E complex, also has some of the organ meats because they're just very, very enriched in those supplements. So
we can order some brain food?
you can. And also we talked last week on autoimmunity. And autoimmunity is all about the body attacking itself. And the reason why it does that is because a defect has occurred usually because of trauma, where now the immune system is attacking the brain, or the immune system is attacking the thyroid, causing Hashimoto's, or the immune system is attacking the gut, causing Crohn's disease. And so Dr. Lee discovered a product called PMG, which stands for a protomorphogen. They also come from the organ meats primarily, but they're used as decoys. So in other words, you take it in your mouth, and now your body's immune system starts attacking that food that you just took instead of your brain, or it starts attacking the PMG instead of your thyroid, which gives it a chance to rest. Very powerful, yeah, very powerful. And what's really interesting about this, as I studied it further, this all occurs at the gut lining. You know, you think about these different processes and how they occur. You think, well, it's got to be in the bloodstream, in the brain, and all the chemicals flowing around. But no, it's all in the gut lining, because that's your immune system. 80% immune system's in your gut. And so all that transaction is occurring. All the manufacture of the immune system cells, all the fighting that's going on, all the processes going on are all in the gut. Okay, so that's why the gut is so very important.
So do you think that probiotics are good?
Probiotics are definitely good. Okay, what is a probiotic?
I don't know.
It's bacteria. Exactly, it's good bacteria you're using to populate your gut. But think about if you're trying to grow a garden, right? And the garden is ravaged, it's got weeds in it, and the soil is dry, and it's just not good. How those seeds going to work when you throw all those seeds in that garden on that dirt? They're not going to work very well, are they? So you can be taking your probiotics, and you can have a garden bed that's just not ready. Your gut could be just not ready for that. Okay, so then you need what's called a prebiotic. But again, it doesn't have to be the prebiotic that you buy in a bottle. It could be food. So that's mostly inulin, things like fibers. So if your diet is higher in fiber, those are a form of prebiotic that you're giving your gut, and that helps to keep that soil healthier, that soil loose, the soil more red. Okay, and then when you put the probiotic in there, the bacteria. And again, this whole thing about, well, do I have to buy the vitamin, or can I get it from food? Well, what's a good source? What's a good probiotic that's not a pill?
Sauerkraut.
All your fermented foods, your kefir, your sauerkraut, your kombucha, all those fermented foods. And why is that? What is a fermented food?
Sour.
A fermented food is bacteria, and that's what we're talking about. So that's the bacteria that's used to populate the gut. So that's really important. So in the standard process line, the Zypan for the stomach, the beta food for the gallbladder, very important to get your digestive system working properly. But by far, what I love is purification. Now, we're going to do a class on purification next week. And that's all about learning how to get this whole system working properly from top to bottom. And Standard Process released a new shake about 3 months ago. I experimented with myself and my wife, Susie, for the first month, and just phenomenal. Love it. And
Like a detox type
type of?
Yes. Yep. And you'd be happy to hear this on the old purification program. For one, well, there was a product called SP Cleanse, and that helped to get your liver detoxifying. For 7 days, you had to take 21 pills a day just to get that in your body. Those have all been put in the shake, so no more pills.
Was milk thistle in that?
Milk thistle, I'm not sure if milk thistle is in there or not. Okay.
Because I know that does
Yeah.
help purify the
It does.
liver.
It does. Yeah. So we'll be talking about that next week. But the whole idea in this whole system is to get the whole digestive system working properly and getting the gut working properly. And then we'll teach also about. I'll throw some gut work in there also next week, so we can talk about not just purification and getting the digestive system working better, but also about the gut. We'll talk about the gut. I'll revisit some things on the gut, so we can talk about that as well. Okay. Any other questions tonight? Yes, Paul.
This is going way back. I remember this bread was recommended by somebody, Ezekiel bread.
Yeah.
That's for.
Yeah, the Bible bread. Yeah. And it's a good bread. But again, it's just everything's becoming so refined still. I recommend staying away from bread. Not a big bread
The
fan.
one for people that have celiacs.
Hmm? Can be, yeah.
It's the sprouted bread. So.
It's a sprouted bread, yeah, that's right. So it doesn't have the same wheat factor. Okay.
What about
So-
green powder, like vegetables that you could add to a shake? Is that bad too?
No, great question. So there's a scale between completely whole food, right, and then synthetic. So over here, you're a farmer. You go out to the backyard and you pull out a root and you eat it, right? That's here. Over here, you're a chemist working in a lab, working with chemicals. They're not even food, right? So you got this whole range. And what's crazy about this is there's a whole big industry over here, that's really selling a lot of things that are just really damaging for the body, and yet should not be part of practice, but it is. So what you're referring to is, well, what about the greens, okay, in a powder form, okay? Well, you're probably about here. Because what you're doing is you're taking, it depends upon, again, where the greens come from, how do they break them down, how do they pulverize them, how do they turn them into a powder. So ideally, it'd be good to know that. Okay, it's hard to know that unless you call the company up, and then, how do you know? You almost have to go down there. But the greens are typically really, really good. And the most important thing is, like, part of this also, oftentimes when you talk about different supplementation, is like, okay, doc, do I have to take them 3 times a day, 2, 2, and 2, or can I do it like once a day? Get them in your mouth. That would be a good idea. Okay, so basics. Okay, there are certain things that are ideal. Okay, like the ideal would be to get that green plant in your body. But if you can make it more convenient and it's a healthy product, it's something you can do on a regular basis, and by all means, that would be a powerful thing. So things like powder greens, I think, are really good as long as your quality source is good. And a good indicator that typically, although this is not a strict rule, the more expensive it is, typically the better quality it is. But it's not strict rule. Sometimes people just make money on bad stuff. Okay,
How
so
do you feel about spirulina?
spirulina's good. Yeah, again, you have to know sourcing of those things. Okay, so when you're looking at food, for instance, if I have a meal, I like to have greens on the bottom, veggies, and beans, nuts, and seeds. So all very alive food. Okay, so so that'd be all down here. Okay, so what about meat? What would be a healthy meat? Well, organ meats, yeah, absolutely. But I'm not eating that stuff.
Grass-fed.
You don't eat
Grass-fed?
liver?
I don't. Liver I probably would, but my dad used to eat it.
Yeah. I know myself, when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I don't know what it was, I hated liver. But my husband loves it. And so he was cooking it, and I thought, that doesn't smell so bad. And it was calf's liver.
Right.
And so I had a piece, and I am not kidding, within 20 minutes, I had so much energy, I was going like crazy. So I know when I'm really low, that's what I need to have.
And that's a good source also of hemoglobin and things for your blood, and so it's really a good source. So meat, I'm not talking about organ meat. So what makes a healthy meat? So you've got your grass-fed meat, no hormones, no injectables, in the meat. So that's really important. And also, I think it's really important to recognize the volume of the meat. We live in America. You know, America is big on muscle. They love muscle meat. Huge steak, huge chicken, all the muscles, the arms, biceps, body parts, right? And so make your salad. Make salad your main meal. If you want to have a steak, put strips of steak on it. Maybe have a little cube next to it. You know, enjoy it. Make it part of your meal, but don't let it be the largest part of your meal. Yeah, it's very dense calories. You want dense nutrients, phytochemicals, things like that. Okay. Fish is very healthy. However, oh man, it's sad.
America.
Well, okay. Well, here's a really simple way to shop. Okay, what are two different types of fish? You have wild, right, and you have farm. So stay away from the farm. That'd be terrible. Okay,
Yeah.
has to be wild. But even then, you got to be careful because mercury. So your shellfish, the stuff that's on the bottom dwellers, are more risky because they're more present of mercury. Sushi, as much as I love sushi, that's you're at more risk again for mercury, and also food poisoning. So some things you have to be aware of. So I think fish is really good. I'd probably keep it moderate, maybe once or twice a week if you're a fish eater.
But also I noticed most of the fish is Taiwan or Chinese or, I mean, it's, nothing's, I guess, is from Alaska or America. I guess we don't fish anymore.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about which ones would be healthy either, quite honestly.
Trader Joe's has a good wild salmon, frozen wild salmon.
Yeah.
From Alaska, I think.
Yeah, it's
And
not
then,
boundaries.
And the fish that are high in omega-3s are some of your better ones, like the salmon or the mackerel, things like that.
And if you're cleaning salmon, if you take off the bottom inch of the salmon, you'll get about 80% of the mercury out there. It tends to settle in the bottom part of the
You mean that
bottom.
grayish kind of blackish?
Well, no, just kind of if you look at a salmon steak on the side, it's kind of like a big oval here. Just cut off the bottom inch on the bottom.
Are you talking about the
which is
skin?
No, I'm talking about the meat too,
Okay.
because that's where in a salmon all of the mercury settles down in their stomach, and that's the bottom of the fish. So you cut off the bottom of the fish.
Oh, okay.
That'll remove about 80% of the mercury.
So how do you know what part of the fish you're getting when it's on your plate?
Well, if you're getting salmon flakes, you have to know what you're getting. But if you're dealing with a salmon steak, if you're cleaning salmon,
Look at that.
Right.
it's
Yeah.
got that. You can
That's a
chop
good
the
thing.
bottom off of it.
That's a good thing to
I
know.
used to do a lot of salmon fishing,
Oh, what?
and that's what they told us,
Oh,
because
good.
there was, there was mercury in the water, and they
Right.
said if the proper way to do it is to clean it, chop off that bottom inch of the steak, and that takes the majority of it out. It makes sense. It settles in the bottom part of the
Yeah,
stomach.
it does. It does.
Goes from there.
So does any of your vitamins cure mercury poisoning if you?
Nothing cures anything except your body. Okay, so that's a good topic. Okay, so just real quickly, we're not out to cure anything.
No, but get it out of your. I
Well,
mean,
it's a good thing to discuss. So, what cures the body? The body cures the body. Okay, and usually it's some type of deficiency. Okay, nutritional deficiency quite often, oftentimes. And so if you just feed the body properly, then it can start to heal.
well,
so-
I thought mercury could build up in your system.
It does. And we actually test for that. We use things like hair analysis to test for heavy metal toxicity, which is what that is. And then purification can extract it. There's different ways you can get the mercury out of your body, different chelating substances, and different ways you can do that. So, yeah, sometimes you need to do that. And we've done that with, and sometimes, especially in brain issues like Parkinson's and things like that, it can be a big issue. Okay, big issue. Because mercury is neurotoxic to the brain cells. Very bad. Well, thank you. Go ahead.
Question for you on dosages.
Yes.
So if you're getting synthetic vitamin, I can go over to Trader Joe's and I can get a vitamin C, and get 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. And I can look
Right.
at it and say, this is what I want to take is
Right.
whatever the recommended doses are, what else I want to go take. So how do I know when I'm looking at oranges or citrus or whatever, when I get my 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, or I've got an equivalent of that? So how do I know I'm getting enough or I'm not taking too much?
That'd be a very interesting thing to Google. How many oranges does it take to get 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C? I bet you it's,
When you
Yeah.
start turning on.
That's arbitrary.
Well, okay, I'm already in trouble because I got read that stuff.
They say the
oh, well,
80% of
wait.
the-
Okay, we need to clarify this. The 1,000 milligram you talked about,
Yeah,
you throw it in the trash can.
right. But what I'm saying is I know exactly how much vitamin C I'm getting there, synthetic or not. I'm getting 1,000 milligrams.
But that's
I
the
mean,
point. That you don't,
Right, but how do
the
I know?
potency is not important.
Okay.
So
And
eating
that,
an orange would be a lot better
Of course.
Well, how
And an
much
apple.
of vitamin C am I getting if I eat? I know you're saying go Google or whatever, but
No, here-
I just use an example, but how do you know that you're getting enough of what you're doing? Like if you're eating beets, we talked about beets being good for gallbladders and various
This
different
is a
things.
good topic. So let's talk about this. So let's talk about a body that's healthy, that doesn't have disease in it, right? So what's the first number one thing? Water, food, exercise, right?
And sleep.
And sleep. So you got to get that food in your body, right?
Bringing that up.
So if you're doing that, now in this day and age, we need to do some supplementation as well. So my opinion on that is you don't have to get all these high levels of these vitamins. You simply get whole food complexes, like I talked about, the catalin, the minerals, the oils. Just get a good complement. Now, if there's an issue in the body, then you need to address that issue. If it's digestion, address digestion. If it's gallbladder, gallbladder. If it's liver, liver. If it's the thyroid, then the thyroid. But doing that with whole food substances as opposed to synthetics. Okay? So that's how you really do it. And so when we're working with a person, what we try to do is we try to reduce the... If you come in and you're trying to work on your thyroid, for example, usually you have to work on your gut first because you have to get the gut working properly. Then we work on the thyroid. The goal is to get the thyroid working as best we can so that you can start to reduce the supplementation for the thyroid you're taking and get back onto more of a general support system. But sometimes you can't do that.
And to answer the other question about eating too much of it,
Mhm.
that's only a problem if it's a synthetic, because the body will get rid of
Exactly.
excess food
Okay.
with no problem. But if it's a synthetic, then it really becomes a problem. So
But sometimes you
you
get too
listen, you kind
much,
of listen to your body to,
acid.
Right.
to know if you took
you
had
can
too
get a
much.
cold sore.
Okay.
Well, that's like, yeah. So that's well said. Thank you. So really, it's really, I think our mindset has been shifted in an improper direction, meaning that we're so taught that the milligrams are important, that the 1,000 milligrams are important, and so we just have to embrace that mindset. We just go a different direction, go again towards food. So what do I do with food? What do you do with food? Try to eat as healthy as you can, 7 days a week, right? You just do your best, right? And then I'm going to supplement myself. I'm going to supplement good whole food supplements to do that. Feel good about that. And when it comes down to it, some of it's just practical. How much can I afford to spend on my supplements every month? You know what I mean? And how much can I afford to spend on my food that I eat? You know, so it all kind of comes together. And so I recommend just trying to do your best to have a good whole food lifestyle as best you can. Supplement accordingly. And if you have issues that you're really struggling with, then talk to me about that so we can try to get things pinpointed in a way that you have more support in your system. All right, we're done. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Appreciate that.